Hello, family. Happy Monday. Come on in. We're going to get started in a few moments. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday. Hope that you are well and warm today. We're going to get started in a few moments. Hello, Kim. Kim, can you do me a favor? Can you inbox me your email address? I do have some information for you regarding rental resources available in your particular jurisdiction that you manage property in. And I know last week that you requested some information. I do apologize for having overlooked that comment. So inbox me your email address, Kim. I'll be certain to get you that information. We are going to get started in a few moments today. We are discussing needed repairs. Landlords are required to make repairs in the pandemic. It's a conversation that we must have. A lot of people are not aware of their rights. And today we are going to discuss that and much more. I am Carissa Spann, the landlord and tenant coach. This is what I do each and every Monday right here on my Facebook and YouTube channel. Please like my Facebook page, find me on YouTube, and click that subscribe button so that you can stay updated and informed with information that I share for landlords and tenants. If you have comments, if you have questions, go ahead and drop it in the comment section, and I will do my best to respond to all of them accordingly. If you're watching live on Facebook, do a watch party. Thank you if you're watching the replay. So we're going to get started in a few minutes. But again, if you're interested in getting involved or engaged in the conversation today, if you have a comment, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the comment section and we will get started in a few moments. I just want to make sure that I'm live on all of my channels. And if you're watching for the first time, please let me know where you are tuning in from. I love to know the area that you're watching from so that I can give information to my viewers. So it doesn't matter if you're a landlord or a tenant. My goal is to provide information that will help the rental community as a whole. And just a little bit of more of an introduction and about my background. I am a property management professor. I've been in property management for well over 28 plus years. I have a plethora of things that I've done in the real estate market and the industry, housing inspector, coach, consultant, so much more. And so it is my passion to share information that I believe will be helpful for landlords as well as tenants. And so if you know someone who is a tenant, tell them to tune in. If you know someone who is a landlord and need a little assistance, tell them to watch this broadcast today, because my goal is to share information that will help them. All right. So give me 1 second. I just want to make sure that I'm up and I'm live on all of my platforms. So give me one moment. Kim, please don't forget to send me that email address. All right. Thank you so much. Now, one of the things that I like to do is by asking where you're tuning in from so that I can share information that will be applicable for your particular jurisdiction. Because here's the thing, what applies in some areas may not apply in others. So for instance, if you're tuning in from the DC metropolitan area, Washington, DC, or Maryland, Virginia, I have viewers who tune in from North Carolina and Atlanta. The laws are going to be different depending on where that rental property is, okay? The information that I'm sharing today is not legal advice, all right? If you need legal advice, please make sure that you are reaching out to an attorney that's experienced with landlord and tenant law. Thank you so much for that, Kimberly. Definitely, I have information for you for Charleston, South Carolina, all right? So I'm going to share information. Kim, once you send me your email address, I have some resources available for your renters and tenants in your jurisdiction. So one of the things that I like to do, because I'm also a property manager, I'm also a landlord. One of the things that I like to do is to share information with my tenants, because I recognize that everybody may not be able to pay their rent because of the pandemic. And certainly we know that there may be individuals who are likely taking advantage of the situation, all right, and the opportunity to maybe skip rent. But one of the things that I always share is that although we're in the pandemic, and although there is a CDC eviction moratorium that I've been talking about for almost a year now, it's still in place. Rent is still due. And even if tenants are not paying rent at some point, the courts will open. All right. And when the courts are open, that means court proceedings will take place. That means judges will allow landlords to evict tenants. All right. And so my goal is to share information to try to bypass the process of people being evicted, because for me, as a housing professional, that is one of the most heartbreaking events that I have to actually perform. Okay. I don't like to evict people, but I'm required to do my job, because I believe in the philosophy that I share so frequently, which is this: if you treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, well, it's going to pay you like a hobby. So I am encouraging landlords and tenants to work together. But we're not really discussing that on today. We're discussing repairs, because repairs are still due even in the pandemic. All right, so let's just jump right into the discussion and conversation, because I've had meetings just this past week with some of my colleagues. I sit on a couple of housing boards, and it is a common concern for so many landlords as well as tenants. Okay, so the first thing is this: landlords are still required to make repairs during the pandemic. Okay, that's not contingent upon tenants paying their rent, even if tenants are not paying their rent. I know somebody's looking at me and saying, Carissa, you are crazy. Listen, I don't make the laws. I'm only sharing what I know to be actual factual. Landlords are still required to make repairs. All right. Landlords are obligated to make sure that that rental property is decent, safe, and sanitary. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it is. Doesn't matter if the courts are closed. Landlords are still required to make repairs. Okay. So the thing about repairs, and this is what I tell tenants. So those of you who are watching, who are renters, or those who I have come in contact with, I tell them this: if you have repairs that are needed, reach out to your landlord. Make a written request of what's due in terms of repairs that are needed in the home. So for instance, if the heat is out, if there is some sort of environmental hazard, such as mold that's growing in the property, landlords are required to take care of those things. Now, I get it. I know some landlords just don't have the money right now. I get it. But the law says that you're still required to make the repairs. And so you still are required to treat it like a business. So last week, I had a young lady on the show, Katrina Jones, and she shared information that will help so many people from a legal standpoint, because she is an attorney. All right. Let me pull up a quote that she shared last week. Give me one moment. Let me find that. Because I believe that this is going to help so many people navigate through this very, very challenging time for so many people. All right. So give me one moment as I try to pull up her quote, because this is really the time for us to work together. You know, I commonly say, and I frequently say rather, that working together is better. So if we could work together to work through the situations, the challenges that people are facing, then let's do it. Let's get people resources, because guess what? Tenants are in need of resources as well as landlords. So if we can work together, it just really makes more sense to do that, right? All right. So I'm really interested and concerned for a lot of reasons. But before I do that, let me get into some of the comments, and I'm still going to look for the quote that Katrina Jones shared last week. Hello, Pearline. Thank you so much for tuning in from Atlanta. Thank you so much. Hello, Caprice. Caprice, I think you're tuning in from Michigan. Thank you so much. Hello, Pastor Bellows. Thank you so much. Happy Monday. Dr. Presley, thank you so much for tuning in today. Hello, Kenyatta. How are you, big brother? Thank you for tuning in. Joe Queen, thank you so much. That's one of my personal trainers. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so landlords are not exempt from making repairs in the pandemic. And I know it's something that a lot of people don't really want to hear, especially landlords, especially real estate investors who don't necessarily have the money to put into rental properties where tenants are not paying the rent. But it's still a business, guys. It's still a business. You're still required to run your business the same way that we would if we were not in the pandemic. Tenants, again, I have strongly recommended that tenants reach out to their landlords to let them know what repairs are needed. Okay. Make sure that it is in writing, because again, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Hey, Moose, thank you so much for tuning in, big brother. And so tenants, if you have repairs that are needed, please reach out to your landlord. If you are a landlord or a housing provider, this is what I always recommend. Make sure that you are maintaining effective communication with your tenants. So they should be able to reach you by email. Okay, so if you have not provided your tenants with that information, please do that. Please open that door to having effective communication, because that's really going to be the key. How well do you manage or maintain those rental property or that landlord and tenant relationships? Because it's not just about collecting money at the beginning of the month. There's so much more to it, okay? I have some colleagues of mine and they just flat out refuse to talk to their tenants. I get it, because I understand that everybody is not reasonable. Some people you just cannot communicate with. Some people don't respect landlords. I have at least 24 of those type of tenants. But at the end of the day, as a housing professional, as a business owner, I am still required to maintain as best as possible effective communication. And I always strive to provide customer service, because here's the thing, customer service is not a department, it's a mindset, it's what you believe. I believe in giving value and adding value, even to my tenants who some are intentionally not paying the rent. Okay, maybe they didn't have a job before the pandemic, so they still don't have a job. All right, or maybe they had a job before the pandemic and they're still working. For whatever reason, they're not paying the rent. It's beyond me to try to figure it out. In some classes, I just don't sign up for. I'm not trying to figure it out. All I know is rent is still due. So repairs that are needed, I'm still required to make sure that I complete those repairs. Now, here's what I caution landlords to do. Because some people are not really comfortable going into people's homes to make repairs because of COVID-19. And we know that we're still in the thick of it. I know that they have a vaccine that's out and people are getting it, but there are still a lot of people that's really scared. So let's just be honest, right? Call a spade a spade. Some people are afraid to go into other people's homes right now, not knowing if they're impacted by COVID. It's because guess what? Some people are not honest. All right. I'm also a housing inspector, right? I shared that. So I have been in rental property homes where tenants tested positive for COVID-19 and did not share that information with me. And so I always make sure that I have on my equipment, my mask, I have on gloves. I make sure that I protect me at all costs. All right. So if I have to go in or if I have to lead a team, and I'm making sure that everybody has on a mask. Hey, Pete, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been waiting on you. So make sure that you have on a mask. Sometimes I have on 2 masks. I have on protective coverings for my shoes. I make sure that my team that's going in with me is also covered and protected. And sometimes what I like to do is take extra masks, especially when we're going into people's homes, because some people may not have had an opportunity to go out, or maybe they don't have a mask. But I definitely don't want that to be an excuse for us to not go in to make the repairs. So I'll take an extra mask and I'll let the tenant know, hey, Miss Tenant or Mr. Tenant, we do have to come in to make repairs. By the way, do you have a mask that you can put on? Because we want to make sure that you're protected and safe as well as us. So I'm explaining all of that. Some of them may say, well, no, I don't have a mask, or I'm not putting on a mask. I'll take extra mask, brand new. Make sure that it's not a used mask, guys. Don't take something that you wouldn't want to receive if you were the tenant. Hey, Jackie, thank you so much for tuning in. But definitely try to take extras so that there is no reason or excuse for tenants to say you cannot come in to make repairs. So I had a situation, true story. Tenant, she never contacted me to say, well, Carissa, I'm having these issues. So what she did was she contacted one of the local authorities to say that my wonderful my wonderful landlord, Carissa, is not making repairs. And so in that situation, I thought that's okay. Well, that was a little shisty, but okay, because I'm not a slum landlord, right? I don't have anybody around me. I don't even have clients who I represent who are shisty or slum landlords. That's just not who I am. So anything negative, anything in that capacity is not attached to me, right? So for this tenant to contact one of the local authorities to say that my landlord, Carissa, is not making repairs, and I reported these issues to her. So one of the things with me is because I do this, I don't just do this by day, I teach this, right? So I'm very thorough and I'm very detailed. I keep documentation of repairs. When a tenant contacts me, there is a file record that I maintain. Contacted by the tenant today, February the 22nd, tenant complained of no toilet working, refrigerator leaking, garbage disposal leaking, or tub backup, or whatever the complaint is. I'm very detailed to keep a record and a log of what the complaints are so that I can make sure that repairs are made. And when I complete the repairs, I go back to my records on the date that I've completed the repairs, whether it's my team or contractors or whoever. I go back to document the file records to say that Mr. and Mrs. Tenant repairs were completed today by contractors or staff or whatever. Because again, it's not what we know, it's what we can prove, right? And then I'm always careful to take pictures. Now, only in extreme situations do I have to do videos, but I strongly recommend that if you're a landlord or you know someone who is, take pictures of repairs that are completed. So you want to make sure that you are getting pictures before and after repairs are completed. It's going to be important because if you should ever have to go to court, again, because we have to be able to prove that things are completed. So anyway, going back to my wonderful tenant, I'm not going to call her a tenant from hell, although I do talk about those, and I do have a handful or two of those. My wonderful tenant. So I follow up regarding her complaint with local authorities indicating or alleging that she contacted me. I didn't make repairs. So anyway, so they reached out to me. They say, hey, well, Carissa, we got a complaint that you didn't make repairs for your tenant. So we're going to do a virtual inspection. Okay, so let me just pause here. All right. If you are in jurisdictions and you are getting complaints, all right, by local authorities, do not panic when you get those calls or those emails. All right. Don't do it. Here's why. Because the only thing that they're going to require you to do is make necessary repairs. So if the tenant has or has not contacted you, all you're required to do by law is to make sure the repairs are made. If you are not able to maybe find a contractor who can do it, maybe Google some contractors that are in your area or necessary for carpentry, for maybe a plumber or an electrician. It's always good to have at least 2 sets of contractors readily available and ready to work. I'm not talking about alley cat mechanics. I'm not talking about, JoJo around the corner that know how to, patch things. When something major needs to happen, please be professional. Hire a professional contractor to do the work, because you will save yourself, in many cases, a lot of money, possibly thousands of dollars. If you take care of the problem the correct way, the first time. You don't have to spend unnecessary time, resources, or money going back out to take care of the same problem. Pete, I know that you can understand that all too well. All right. So when you get those calls, or should you get those calls, right, regarding tenants complaining that repairs are not completed, just go ahead, make sure that the repairs are made by a professional who will document and stand behind the work that they've done. That's right, Pete, I said JoJo from around the corner. All right. So make sure that you can document the repairs by a professional contractor. Okay. That's going to be so important. All right. And so understanding the dynamics that goes with landlords and tenants and that relationship should help you navigate this situation a lot better, even in the pandemic. Okay. Because here's the thing, tenants will complain. All right. They will complain that repairs are needed. Here's the thing, tenants are entitled to complain if they're living in a home that's not decent, safe, and sanitary. Okay. So if you are a tenant, let me pause. Let me speak to my tenants, because I know I have a lot of people who are renting. If you are a tenant and if your landlord is refusing to make repairs, you can contact local authorities to require them to make the necessary repairs. That is a right. That is a tenant right. Please do not get upset when your tenants are complaining. Landlords, please do not get upset. Let me say it for the third time. Please don't get upset when your tenants call to complain about repairs that are not made. Okay? They're entitled to have a home that's decent, safe, and sanitary. I didn't say it. It's the law. It's a federal law. Okay? It's what they deserve. So, tenants, please make sure that you're contacting your landlords in writing. Make sure that landlords, you're following up and responding to your tenants in writing regarding you've received their requests for repairs. Now, if it's something like just normal wear and tear, maybe the blinds are down, you can respond by saying, well, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant, I received your request for some new blinds or new slats for your blinds. At this time, we are unable to come in to replace those blinds. Now, one of the things that I would like to recommend for landlords is this: if you have not already identified a list of emergency repairs that you're making during the pandemic, please do that. Take time to send that to your tenant. That's going to be important because your tenants will already know the reason that you'll come out, or the repairs that will be made during the pandemic, and only those repairs. So if you send them that information in writing, maybe a newsletter, or maybe an email, a text, a letter, whatever, telegram, fax, however you communicate with your with your tenant, make sure it's in writing. Thank you so much for tuning in. Lynette, boss lady from North Carolina. Charlotte is in the building. So you want to do that because tenants will already know the reasons they can contact you. They won't contact you. Well, I won't say they won't, because some people, they'll just contact you anyway. But when tenants, they have an understanding of what is considered an emergency, they'll know, okay, well, Carissa's not going to come out to give me new blinds because that's not an emergency. So I've created a list of repairs that we will make, and I make sure that I'm available and accessible for my tenants to reach me. Now, my tenants, they can contact me, they can call me 24 hours a day. Even if I don't answer the phone, they are able to leave a message 24 hours a day to let me know what their issues are, what their concerns are. I will follow up, my team will follow up to make sure repairs are made. All right, so the second point today is that landlords cannot lawfully evict tenants during the pandemic. I want somebody to type that in the chat box for me. Landlords cannot lawfully evict tenants during the pandemic. So we are still in the pandemic. There is a national eviction moratorium in the United States. Doesn't matter, anywhere in the United States. The eviction moratorium is in place until March 31st of this year. Okay. Now, I haven't checked today to see if it has been extended. Now, me personally, thank you for that, Pete. Me personally, I do believe that the eviction moratorium is going to be extended further than March 31st. Here's why. Because we are still in the thick of the pandemic. And if landlords are allowed to evict tenants, that will cause people to become homeless. That could possibly put them in harm's way, in jeopardy of or in danger of contracting the COVID-19. All right. So because of that, I believe that the CDC is going to extend the eviction moratorium. I know that landlords are really hating me right now. Okay, thank you for that, Moose. So it hasn't been extended as of today. All right. So landlords, again, cannot lawfully evict tenants during the national CDC eviction moratorium. In order for tenants to be evicted, there has to be a court proceeding where a judge is giving the landlord permission to evict them. Now, I know that people are being evicted. I know that landlords are putting people out. That is against the law. Please know your rights. Tenants, please know the law. Landlords, the tenant can come back to sue you if you are watching, and if you've evicted a tenant unlawfully, that tenant can come back to sue you. So please, 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 please share this information, because sharing is caring. I've talked to a couple of you who are watching this live right now, and I know that there are places that are there are landlords who are actually evicting tenants. It is not legal. It is unlawful. Please stop it before you get yourself sued. I understand you're trying to operate a business. You're trying to pay the bills. You can't pay the bills if your tenant isn't paying rent. I get it. But I promise you that if this tenant come back, take you to court. Let's say you evict the tenant, okay? As a landlord, you don't have to take my word for it. Like I said, I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just telling you what the law says. But let's say you watch this live or you watch the replay and you just totally ignore the information that I'm sharing. You evict your tenant. Now, during the eviction, you cause your tenant to become homeless and they all of a sudden contract COVID-19. If that tenant reports to law officials, people in authority, the courts, whoever, that they contracted the virus as a result of them being homeless, you can be fined. And so I promise you, please err on the side of caution and safety. Do the right thing legally, because here's the thing. There is money available in so many jurisdictions. There are so many resources available for tenants to get money. All right. So if you have tenants who are not paying rent, please do a Google search for COVID-19 rent resources that's available in that particular jurisdiction, and look up the places that tenants can go to get money. Make it easier for tenants to get the money to pay the rent. Okay, so remember, I said together is better, right? Sharing is caring. All right, so let me go to point number 3. Landlords cannot even turn off utilities. Okay, if the lease says that landlords are responsible for paying, for example, gas, electric, water, oil, whatever. If the landlord is responsible for paying the utilities, they cannot turn the utilities off during the pandemic. It is against the law. You cannot do it. Are people doing it? Absolutely. People are absolutely doing it. They are. People are doing it. And that is the unfortunate part, because like I said, there are resources available. Guys, tap into the resources available. If you have a tenant that's not paying, if you're a landlord that can't pay the bills, there is so much information available for you. Okay. The government has provided millions of dollars in a lot of jurisdictions to help you and your tenant to get through these challenging times. So don't get yourself jammed or caught up in a hot seat because you made an emotional decision out of a temporary situation that will essentially create a lasting impact, right? So don't do it. Just don't do it. I'm I'm going to pause to see if any of you have questions, because I want to make sure that I'm providing information that is relevant to you all. And again, this is what I do. I do hope that something I've shared today will help somebody. So whether you are a tenant, whether you are a landlord, I hope that this information was helpful for you today. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube right here each and every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Please let me know if you're in the DC metropolitan area, if you want to stay connected. Please continue to watch my show. If you have comments or questions, drop it in the comment section. If you have information, or if you would like additional information from me, please inbox me your email address. Okay. If I am not online, I'll come back. I'll share information. I do try to check my messages daily. At least twice a day, I try to check my messages. So if you're watching on Facebook, please find me on YouTube. Okay. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, please like my Facebook page. All right. And again, I just try to give information that I know is going to help so many people. So today I shared information about repairs, because repairs are needed. Some repairs are due. And I know it's really heartbreaking right now for so many people who are in the struggle. You know, a lot of people are in the struggle. Listen, we're all in this together. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed to say that you need help. All right. I shared that landlords cannot lawfully evict tenants because it's against the law. You just can't do it. I don't care how frustrated you get. I don't care how angry the tenant makes you. Even if you have the worst tenant on the planet Earth or in the universe, you're still required to do what you're supposed to do by law. And then I also shared that landlords cannot turn off utilities. You can't disconnect utilities. I get it. A lot of people are home from work. The family, the children, they're home. You know, they have homeschooling going on now, and they are doing this virtual learning. And because of this, the utilities, they're going up. It costs more to keep the utilities on, the heat. Maybe they're running the lights all day. Listen, please don't create a hardship for people. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, Andrea. Happy Monday to you, beautiful. Your comment says, I know a landlord who evicted a tenant a few months ago, and this person have a disability. That's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry to hear that. Tenants do have rights. And if it was an illegal eviction, if something happens to that tenant can sue the landlord. And that landlord will be fined. All right. It's not worth it. I promise you, it's not worth it. I know that, like I said, it's a hardship for so many people, but there are resources available. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll wait around for a couple of more comments or questions if you have any, because I want to make sure that I get this information to you. I want to make sure that I'm answering questions that you have. And if not, then I will see you all next week. So I'll stick around for a few more comments or questions. And again, guys, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you watching. I really do appreciate the likes, the hearts. I appreciate you sharing this information to help somebody. So, Andrea, you said they had a disagreement. That's unfortunate. And this happens all the time. Listen, I had a tenant who contacted me this past week. So true story. So what I ended up doing was having I called it a town hall meeting, right? So it was a virtual town hall meeting I had with some of my tenants, because I wanted to hear what concerns they had, because I'm just that type of person, and to let them know what I'm doing as a housing provider, right? Because I want to make sure that my tenants are in the know. So this was my first quarterly town hall meeting of the year. So I'll do another one next quarter. So anyway, one of the tenants, she got on and she was cussing and she was yelling and screaming. And she was like, I want to see you one-on-one. And when can we see each other one-on-one? And I'm like, okay, that's a little aggressive, but okay. I was a little taken back because I didn't understand the aggression. this tenant and I had not had any conversations about anything for her to have that level of anger that was directed towards me, right? I get it. Some people, they wake up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't take things personally. I'm not the type of person that wear my feelings on my sleeve. I promise you, I have thick skin. I have tough skin. So anyway, so I asked her if she wanted to share a little bit more about her concern, and I told her that because of the pandemic, that I was not necessarily available to see her one-on-one. And I asked her, well, do you have any repairs? She was like, well, no, we need to talk one-on-one. So after the town hall meeting, which lasted for about 3 hours almost, I follow up with her, and she had some issues going on in her kitchen. I think she said her garbage disposal had been leaking for a long time, and she listed something else that was wrong. I don't remember verbatim what it was. And I asked her, I said, well, when did you let me know that you had these issues? So she's still going on and on and on. Andrea, I know, right? Some people, they don't know. I don't say anything, right? So I asked her, I say, well, Miss Tennant, I mean, of course I addressed her by name, but I asked her, I say, well, when did you let me know that you had this issue? She said, well, I shouldn't have to tell you that I got stuff wrong. I said, okay, I respect that, but let's agree to disagree. I can't make a repair if I don't know it exists, right? I said, at the end of the day, my job is to make sure that I take care of repairs. If it's something that I can't do with my team, I would get a contractor to come out to take care of the repairs. So you got all this anger built up because you didn't tell me that something was wrong. How was I supposed to know? So she calmed down. I mean, I respected her. I waited for her to, I promise you, Andrea, she was fussing and cussing. And I mean, you would have thought that, you know, the way that she was acting, that we were out in the street or something, that I took some food out of her hand or something, right? But after I heard her talk, she let me, you know, have a word or two. And then she thought about it. She was like, oh, you're right. You can't make a repair if I don't tell you that repairs are made. And then she apologized. I said, you know, thank you for the apology. It's not, you know, I don't take it personal. So you need to apologize. I understand your frustration, but if you have something wrong, then just let me know. You know, you don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be rude, because I'm human, just like you're human. Now, I didn't respond like that because this is what I do. I coach people and I train people how to respond and provide customer service. And so I got to be a leader by example, right? So I didn't respond on that level. But here's the thing. Landlords are just as human as tenants. And so respect goes a long way. We can agree to disagree. We can have a difference of opinions. I promise you, listen, a couple of my sisters, a couple of my family members are watching this Facebook Live, and you know, we don't always get along, right? But we can still respect each other. There's a way that you do things in decency and in order. My father, may he rest in peace, bless his heart. He was 94 years young when he passed away in December 2020. He said, he always talked about decency, do things in decency and in order. So I strongly believe in that. I wholeheartedly believe in that. But I promise you that some people would take you there. Okay. You cannot allow people to provoke you to come out of your character. Don't do it. Don't allow people to provoke you to come out your character. All right. Moose, you said, can you speak on it if people have a small management company for your property, making sure they follow all your pointing out? That's a good point, Moose, because that's really one of the reasons why I do my lives each week, because whether the company is large or small, they are still required to know the law. They're still required to make repairs. Now, here's the thing. If you have a tenant, and I don't know the specifics on this, Moose, and so we can definitely chat offline, right? But if you're a property manager or you have a property management company, you know someone who does have a small property management company. So true story, I created a property management company many, many years ago. And one of the things that I did with my company is I made sure that I followed the rules and the laws, right? Understanding that customer service goes a long way. But if you have tenants who are not cooperating or participating or not allowing you in to make repairs, then you just have to enforce your lease, because that's really the only thing that you can do. That's really the only thing that you can do. I'm sorry, give me a second, guys. I have someone calling me while I'm on my Facebook Live. All right, so that's really the only thing that you can do is make sure that you're following the law. And if you have someone that's not cooperating with you, just document it, right? But Moose, let's chat offline. I can definitely answer your questions in detail. And if it's some way that I can help you, I'll definitely do it. So let's chat offline, Moose. I want to get a little more information about what you're asking for. Listen, I have a heart to help people at the end of the day. And like I said, if you treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business. My goal is to help so many of you in the community to improve the relationship that you have with landlords, to improve the relationships that you have with tenants, because it's important. You don't have to like people, right? So we know that people are being evicted. People are being evicted because of disagreements. If you learn how to communicate and talk to each other, then maybe you can work out the differences, because money is available. So you really just going to evict the tenant in the pandemic because there's a disagreement. It's money available, but I get it. Some tenants you might just want gone. I've had it. I've had a few of those. I've been in the industry for well over, 28 years. So I've seen a lot in my day. Okay, question. What can you do if the tenant sells drugs in the property, which is a breach of the contract? That's a great question. Now, it just depends on the jurisdiction that rental property in, because some courts are open for violations of the lease. So what I would do in that situation, because again, it's not what we know, is what we can prove, right? So if you have proof that this is going on, that you have a tenant that's selling drugs, you have a tenant that's violating the lease, contact an attorney. Okay, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm just giving you best industry practices. Contact an attorney, see what options you have to file a suit against this tenant. Now, you can't evict for non-payment of rent. However, you can evict for certain lease violations, just depending on where the rental property is. So I hope that helps. Great question. I had a tenant who I had a tenant in Washington, D.C. So I have tenants in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. So I had a tenant in Washington, D.C., and the gun recovery unit had to go to that tenant's house and recovered a shotgun. Okay. So there are things that you can do for tenants who are violating the lease. True story. I promise I can't make this up. I'm just sharing. I'm sharing actual factual. Tenant did have a shotgun. He was in possession of a shotgun, and I would have never imagined, because I see this guy. He's always friendly. He's always, pleasant with me, and he's walking around in the community with a shotgun. So one of the neighbors saw it, contacted the police, and all of a sudden I get a call to say, well, Carissa, it's about 12 police cars on the street and everything's blocked off. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what happened? Right? Come to find out, it's one of my tenants who got a shotgun that's creating all this havoc and mayhem in the community. So definitely, if you have residents who are breaking the lease, who are violating the lease, please contact a landlord and tenant attorney to see how they can best advise you on steps that you can take. So I do hope that helped. And again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you'll join me right here on Facebook or YouTube next Monday at 7:30 p.m. My time is up, and I definitely thank you for yours. All right, so I'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.